longer pay their medical bills because those bills were, the money was locked up in a bank that has failed. Nobody knows the number of children whose parents could very well afford to pay their school fees who had to drop out of school because banks were mismanaged. So we use this as one instance, as one example of what you can do if you're ready to confront these vested interests and deal with them and protect the poor for the first time. But the banking industry is just one part of Nigeria. What is happening in other areas? So, take the oil industry. We're talking about fuel subsidy. In 2009, this country paid 291 billion naira as subsidy for petroleum products. By 2011, this number had jumped to 2.7 trillion naira. Did we start consuming 10 times as much petrol? Do we have 10 times as many cars? Did the population of Nigeria multiply 10 times? I did not believe those numbers. I screamed against those numbers, and what people screamed. Of course, we tried to remove subsidy. There was Occupy Nigeria. There have been investigations. And what did we discover? That a lot of that money never went to fuel subsidy that was consumed by Nigerians. There are people in this country that produced pieces of paper and brought to PPRA, and somebody stamped those pieces of paper and said they brought in petroleum products and actually paid them subsidy. And those pieces of paper said, I brought 30,000 metric tons on so-so ship, and we discovered that that ship was nowhere near the coast of Nigeria on that date. We have seen vessels that did not even exist, that had been retired on bills of lading, and money has been paid. And you know what? None of them, as I speak to you, has gone to jail. This is the only country in the world where you have something called oil theft, where vessels can simply come and take crude oil and literally just drive out of the country. You see the numbers every day, 100,000, 200,000, 400,000 barrels a day. Nobody even knows. 7.3 billion naira. How does anybody take oil in a vessel and leave a country? We've got the Navy, we've got NIMASA, we've got security services, you've got the oil companies themselves. And every day we complain about the lack of development. We don't have development because vested interests continue to rape this country and continue to take the money out. And the only way you're going to move from potential to reality is to stop preaching and start asking yourself, how can we overcome the fear of vested interests and how can we confront them? And if there's one thing I learned from banking, it is that they are not to be feared. They stand on quicksand. They've got only two tools. They're not very intelligent people. It doesn't take much intelligence to steal. If they were smart, they probably would not be stealing. They'd find other things to do. They have two weapons, and two weapons only. First is, how much do you want? And if you don't want anything, then I'm going to destroy you. If you don't want their money, and if you're not afraid of them, you destroy them. There's nothing else in there. You're more intelligent, and we've got to ask ourselves as a country, how have we allowed ourselves to be reduced to a level that is so far below our potential? A few weeks ago, I was in Lagos at Tinubu's birthday at the colloquium, and I spoke to young people. I said, we have 65 million young people in Nigeria. I'll give you one idea. You have 65 million youth in Nigeria. What does it take for one of you to get your votes and be the president of this country? What does it take for you to say, you're tired of my generation? I'm going to get one 40-year-old, intelligent, committed, patriotic Nigerian, and we're going to ask all the youth to vote for him. What does it take for you to address this issue sector by sector? Identify these interests one by one and confront them. Why does it have to take fuel subsidy removal for us to come out and challenge the rot that is in our country. What are we afraid of? We're afraid of losing the security that we have today. We may not lose it today, we will lose it tomorrow. So if there's one message I have for every Nigerian, is to remember that the problems of this country are enormous. The solution is simple. And that solution is we must recognize that at the heart of the problem of Nigeria, at the heart of 90% of our issues, from Boko Haram to religious crisis, to ethnic crisis, to unemployment, to the lack of education, to the lack of healthcare, is that there are people who profit from the poverty and underdevelopment of this country. And these people are called vested interests. And so long as they remain entrenched, and so long as we do not overcome our fear of them and dislodge them, we are not going to find a solution to this problem, and we're not going to reach our true potentials. My time is up. Thank you very much.